If you feel like you're moving slower than you should be, there's actually a good chance you're doing too much, not too little. And that's the exact reason the top 1% move 10 times faster than everybody else. Once you see it, it's actually pretty hard to unsee. There are three key things they do, and none of them actually have anything to do with intelligence, money, or connections. I'm talking about people who started from nothing. Moving faster in life isn't about doing more. It's about removing friction, things that slow you down. Most people try to do everything, think about everything, and optimize everything, which just slows them down. Speaking from firsthand experience, after 8 years, I finally figured this out, and it honestly blew my mind. So I'm going to show you what this actually looks like, because once you understand this, everything starts to feel so much lighter, like there's a huge weight taken off of your shoulders, and you naturally move faster with significantly less effort. I know that may sound like a bold claim, but it completely changed my life. So what I want to start with is kind of a core reframe, and that is that speed does not equal effort. Speed is a lack of friction. It's, again, removing all of these things that are slowing you down and making it easy to move forward. The difference between people who move fast and people who constantly feel stuck, it's not how hard they're trying, it's how much resistance they're dealing with every day. Most people overthink, they second guess themselves, they split focus or, chase after too many things at once. And these are all friction points that slow them down. So instead of asking, how do I go faster? Or a way worse question is, why am I not further ahead? The better question is, what's slowing me down? And once you identify that, how do I fix this? And that's a lot of what I'm sharing with you here. The problem that a lot of people experience, that I personally really went through, is you're doing a lot, you're working really hard, especially if you're ambitious, but nothing feels like clean or smooth or easy. Right? You're mentally tired, progress feels slow, and you end up in this loop of trying harder, which just creates more pressure for yourself and then makes your thinking worse, which just kind of mixes everything up and just muddies up your situation and makes it all harder. So let me actually break down this framework for you. So there's alignment, there's having a focus on today, and there's mastery, and these three things combined result in you moving literally 10 times faster. This is the structure I eventually landed on, and the key is each step removes a different type of core, big picture friction that a lot of people overlook because they're lost in the details. That was really big problem for me. They're very high level, so if you get these things right, especially the mastery step, everything else becomes so much easier. Now, I'm going to start off with alignment here. The friction that you're removing here is internal resistance, your own fighting against yourself to succeed. I'll explain what I mean. If you're doing things that you don't actually want to do, your body, your subconscious mind will fight you on your journey down that path, right? And trying to force yourself to make something work, it leads to procrastination, it leads to burnout, inconsistency, a lack of commitment to things, and constantly jumping around, because you can't move fast in a direction that you yourself are constantly resisting, right? Like, you're fighting yourself while moving forward. Self-sabotage comes from your body telling you, I don't like this, I don't want to be doing this. Now, if you have a business, there are going to be parts of working on the business that are not ideal for you. Maybe you want to outsource those things, sure. But if the business as a whole you hate and you feel like you're fighting yourself just to grow this thing, or if you're in a career where you're pushing yourself and you're basically just miserable the whole time, that's where you may be completely working on the wrong thing as a whole. Because again, you're fighting yourself. Now, the second piece here, focusing on today, this is a really important one that saved me a lot of mental load and helped me move so much faster. The friction you're removing here is mental overload. It's all of that thinking about the future, thinking about your goals being here, you only being here, and that's a lot of work for you to have to figure out in X amount of time that you want to hit your goal, right? But then also you feel like, why does everybody else seem to be hitting their goals so much easier than me? Am I slow? Is there something wrong with me? Your confidence deteriorates. Am I behind? And this mental clutter severely, severely limits your speed of growth as well as your clarity of thinking. The fastest people, they're not thinking 10 steps ahead all day long. That was a misconception that I had early on. They're just laser focused on what's the one next thing that's going to get me one step closer to that goal. And I used to feel a lot of resistance to just focusing on the next one thing. I felt like I was almost above that, to be honest. But the answer is, if you almost feel like you're above that one thing, then it should be easy to just tackle and focus your whole life on it, even if it takes you, say, 3 weeks to work on when you think maybe it'll take you 2 days. It'll be less painful to you if it takes longer, if you assume this might take a long time. But it can be scary to even try to focus on the one thing because, you may think, oh, I'm above that, but what's hiding under that oftentimes is, at least for me, I was thinking, what if I try to focus on this thing and it becomes actually quite a challenging problem? And that further reduces my confidence. I already have low enough confidence now caused by such a focus on the future. So cutting all of these things down to just focusing on that next one thing and pushing yourself through that, it can be slightly humbling in cases, but long term, man, do you move so much faster. And this actually transitions smoothly into the third piece here being mastery, which is, in my opinion, one of the most important steps of this whole process. The friction you're removing here is these cycles of you constantly restarting or getting tired of things and kind of losing momentum. Because most people, they switch strategies all the time, they chase after new ideas when things get a little bit difficult, and they just find themselves constantly restarting. This happened to me once early on for about 2 years. I just kept on jumping between things. And I never built any momentum. The key thing, there are two things here. The first key thing is that you don't get faster by switching, you get faster by committing to something. That is, unless you know factually or you have a very strong intuition that, you should be doing something different. I'm talking about starting business A and then quitting, and then starting business B and then quitting, and then starting business C, all inside of 6 or 8 months. That just has you constantly restarting. And that often happens when you get to a point where it's not as fun and exciting, things are a little more challenging, and you're not pushing through. So what mastery is in this case is powering through the challenges, just taking them straight head on and focusing on them, key, one at a time. And if you're working on the right thing, you're more likely to actually commit and be able to ride through these challenging times, right? And again, when you're focusing on just one thing at a time, it's a lot less overwhelming. It's a lot less easier to actually focus on, right? Now, the second key point here is that the pursuit of excellence in and of itself, regardless of what it is that you're working on, like maybe there's one metric you want to improve in your business, or there's one objective you want to complete in your job, or you want to, get a raise, or whatever the case may be. The pursuit of excellence or mastery, or just like powering through and like completely owning and rising above the challenge or problem it is that you're facing, is what gives people satisfaction in life. Speaking from experience, yes, but this is very well documented. When you work something down to the bone, you feel better after, plus it gives you confidence, plus it's the fastest path forward. So again, when you combine these things, right, you start moving so much faster, your confidence goes up instead of down, right? And this is what those top 1% people are actually doing. Now, let me take a step back for a second, because you might be listening to this and thinking, yeah, I get this, but I still feel stuck. That's usually where the real issue is, right? It's not that you don't know what to do, it's that there's still friction somewhere that you're not seeing, right? Overthinking, misalignment, trying to do too much at once. These things are subtle, but they slow everything down, and they can be hard to identify if you haven't had that clarity yet. So what I've been doing recently is working with people to identify exactly where that friction is coming from for their unique situation, and simplify things so they can actually move forward significantly faster with just much less weight on their shoulders, and overall a clearer mind and an easier life and lifestyle. So if you want help with that, click the link in the description, you can reach out. But let's finish this because this last part just ties everything together quite nicely. So again, We have alignment where you're removing your own resistance to doing the thing that you're trying to do. Then you're focusing on today, not focusing on the future, or, because a lot of ambitious people are future and vision oriented, but it's the same thing. You don't want to get too caught up on focusing on the past and beating yourself up for that. So focus on today and just what's the next thing that's going to get me closer to my goal. And then mastery is committing to that one problem, that one next thing, and just powering through it until it's done, no matter what it is. Then once it's done, what's the next one? What's the next one? But one at a time, right? And just completely powering through. Again, this builds confidence, and this builds commitment, and it builds this feeling that you have a foundation under you that you can rely on. This way, speed feels natural, not forced, and you're moving orders of magnitude faster than previously. So again, the kind of conclusion here is that the top 1%, they don't try to move fast. They just don't have all these things slowing them down. So if you feel slow, don't add more things, don't push harder, simplify. You're probably a lot closer than you think. You're just overcomplicating it.